what it is.
What's up? We
Got your nigga in the cut. Goddamn. How are you?
I'm alright. I was like,
Yo, what a question.
hey, yeah. In the age of COVID, the question is very loaded.
It's loaded.
It's so loaded.
It almost feels like an attack.
Exactly, and I feel like I'm really tired of telling people I'm tired. Like,
yeah.
How many times are you guys gonna hear that I'm tired? Work, school, whatever, or a lot.
This episode was sponsored by
tiredness. Hello, the girls are fatigued. I don't know, guys. I'm just glad. I won't lie. I'm a bit glad that the weather's changed.
From that rain, those 2 weeks of rain.
It was so ghetto.
That was very depressing.
I really didn't enjoy it. So I'm happy that the rain is gone, I guess, on a permanent basis for now. Happy about that. Just trying to just live, guys.
That rain made me realize that I need to do better in life. Yeah. I need a tumble dryer. Because we had done gang laundry. Because
it just wasn't drying.
And the thing is, if the laundry's not drying, it starts to smell.
Yes.
And then you're like, I can't waste so much water rewashing everything. It was just a mess. Yo. Like our laundry smelled so bad. It smells like my spirit right now.
You a musty bitch in your spirit?
I'm musty right now. I'm musty.
How are you doing?
Musty. Very musty. I think I'm going through a lot. That is quite a lot. It's all like I'm at a place where I'm like, it's a lot, but it's also very much me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the reason why I'm here. If it isn't consequency. So I'm dealing with consequency.
Hey, serious consequences.
Literally. And the consequency are showing me eggs.
I saw the one tweet that you tweeted and I was like, girl, that's some
self-sabotage. It was self-sabotage. You know when you procrastinate to the point where you are landing yourself in hot water.
Yeah.
I'm swimming in hot water and it's scathing. Oof. I don't know if I'm gonna be as burnt as much as I think I'm going to burnt. I think my sense of responsibility is a bit heightened, so I might be overthinking, but hey, consequency. Other than the consequency, this was a very interesting week in the world.
It really, really was.
Oh, the last week was an interesting week in the world.
Valentine's Day, vaccine rollouts. I don't even know. Valentine's Day.
I think Valentine's Day was the most domineering thing.
Right?
I am really intrigued by the nature of this holiday. Firstly, in its origins. Secondly, in our understanding of it. Yeah. And thirdly, the mess that social media has made it become.
Yes. Valentine, I wasn't really on social media much this time. I was busy.
As always. I think I was also busy, but I caught the things that needed to be caught.
Right? And yeah, guys, is it every year? That's all I'm asking.
Is it every year that
every year
you must fawn over the gifts people get from our tax money? Like, I feel like
come on, guys.
It's weird, bro. Like, we all hate corruption, but as soon as, I won't say a name, a person who has a big public record of using, first of all, owing the government a shitload of tax money. Yeah. Secondly, building houses that basically break and kill people or make people sick from asbestos, or their children dying in toilets, or all the accidents we have on the roads because of the potholes that are there because people are eating money instead of servicing them.
Yeah.
And then they hire out a stadium and have music, and you men are like, oh my word, when torties love, they love out loud. What the hell is wrong with you?
Guys, like, I get it. You know, you're just like, wow, oh my, this is so romantic.
But you can't subaway tax money.
You need to get out of that thinking and go, oh, the integrity must kick in.
And it must be like, this is actually my money that pay for that.
mates.
Like, it's your money that pay for that.
Mates, you know what I mean? We already experienced the whole thing that happened last year with the popular fashion influencer, and how people were just being very strange when
And saying people were waiting for their downfall.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
were.
yes.
People who steal money should go to jail.
Literally, like what's not clicking? You know what I mean? So
Consequences.
serious consequences. So I think we get so caught up in just watching it sucks being a spectator, I think, and seeing these things. And I guess you're sitting at home and it's like, oh my God, in my wildest dreams, it would be like, but it won't be like that. And
Because
I don't mean
you
that
will hopefully date an honest person who will live within their
in their
means or
means.
appropriate means. I think
Exactly.
the one thing that actually makes me feel very weird about like gifting, especially now in a time where it's so expositionary, is the performance of it all. And we spoke about this last time, like the projection of lack, which coexists because we live in a comparative society. It coexists even if you do not position something as, I'm so lucky I get this and you guys have nothing.
You guys have nothing,
It will
exactly.
always be there, even if you don't frame it in that way. And I think it, like from a capitalistic lens, but also from like a moral lens, I think as long as certain things exist in society, there will always be the need to attain them by any means necessary.
Exactly.
And in this case, actually in many cases in South Africa, the by any means necessary comes at the death of people. And I don't think that we make that connection enough.
No.
I don't think we...
I think it's become commonplace so much that it's just not
It's a
something
thing.
that it doesn't occur
that
often
people are
where-
dying for that Louis Vuitton bag. People
Yeah.
are dying for that Bentley. And I think
It's so normal for
These-
for South African people or people in South Africa to die
so that someone
so
can
that someone it's
live
so normal.
soft.
It's
And
just so normal.
I think like it's very interesting that we've been speaking a lot about love, which we're gonna do again today. So if you hate it, you gotta love it.
Period.
So the thing that keeps on coming to me is the fact that the men who are very corrupt and who first come into the spotlight because of their corrupt ways and the ways that they steal money from the government, blah, 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 always attach themselves to high-profile women who have built a name for themselves outside of, or we don't know them from.
And are
being
hyper
corrupt.
visible.
Yes, they love hyper visible. And I think it's actually quite scary because it almost feels like that's the last thing on their list, like on climbing up the hierarchy, and them bringing the public demise of these powerful, high-profile women is actually serving them in some way. And
But
that's
also
scary.
they're just such head asses. Like they also just like they come into these women's lives. These women are very much like, high profile, hyper visible. They put their lives out there and then suddenly demand that no, you can't put me out there. Bitch, what are you doing?
No, but
I mean you have every right, but at the same time, you can tell like they delight in that. Like,
yes,
hide
but
me.
I
Like,
still think that even in the hide me, it's like a narcissistic
Yes,
game where
exactly.
it's like, hide me, but I'm gonna put enough things out
Yes.
there for people to
know,
know
to pick
that
up
it's
the
me.
pieces that
Yes,
it's me, like-
the spectators
That's
must
why I
be
say
there
they're
putting
such
things together.
losers.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I don't think it's a winning game for
No.
those women as well. Maybe we're not like desirable in the way that we would ever experience
bitches in our
fraud
heart,
on that
that's
level.
just,
But I just think that it's a losing game. And we've seen multiple women, especially within the political space, who partner up with these losers who end up being in hot water and having their names soiled over nothing.
And I mean, we can even attach it to what we spoke about last week.
Yes,
And how,
yes,
you
yes. And
know-
how that's her.
Exactly.
That's your name on the internet attached to that. When you, or that we know of, have never physically harmed someone in that way.
Yeah.
That's messed up. But
Yeah.
the second thing that happened, and you might have missed it, but it annoyed me so much.
What happened?
It's the same thing, seed of corruption. This Andile Mpisane thing. I'm like, why are people even laughing at this? Like, the levels of narcissism, the way it is so not like it's sick to me that there must be. Okay, for those who don't know, Andile Mpisane is Sean Mpisane's son, and there's been countless articles about the corruption there.
Yeah.
You can find it, you'll see it. This young man, apparently he's like 19.
Yeah, he's a kid.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
And apparently, even though he's a kid, that's another story for another day.
Hey.
There's a grown woman influencer who has a child with him.
Hey,
But anyway,
that one
park
is-
that predatory
Yeah,
mess.
we'll get there another time.
So this guy is 19, and much like actually no, I think like by the time you're 19, you have an awareness of the things
Yeah,
that you're good at. and your
you're out of high
capabilities.
school by then.
You know what you're
Typically.
good at. You know what you can do.
Yeah.
But this guy, we can say safely, according to the articles, with taxpayers' money,
Of course.
is literally like a performing artist, and like all these people must humor him because obviously the family has a lot of money and power in Durban,
Yeah.
so they need to be on their good side. So there are talented artists having to humor this guy because he has money.
Yeah.
That says so much about power dynamics. And that one is a little bit different even because these artists also have money, they also have clout. So we can place that somewhere else where we won't
Whatever.
unpack and discuss.
Yeah.
Pity, this boy decides he wants to play soccer.
And manage.
And manage.
the
So
club.
the parents buy him a club, and he's the chairman, and he's the manager or something like that.
Yeah.
Chairman, manager,
And he got
whatever.
a jersey number 10.
And he got signed, and he gets jersey number 10.
Come on,
And
man.
then now you actually realize, and it's funny. It's funny. But then when you think about the people who are on the team with him, who are talented, who are very serious about their soccer,
Yo.
having to humor this person and play with, it just feels like
It's heartbreaking.
the rich cousin who does not have an understanding of where his family ends.
Yeah.
Because now those young men, like their growth must be stunted by the existence of this guy that always must be passed to.
And you know what? Let me flip it like this. There are families that are, using the tax money, our tax money or whatever, to fund
the families that
these-
we take care of with our tax money.
Period.
Yes, those families.
They then fund these soccer clubs, or they find
wash
they
monies.
found
Yeah.
these soccer clubs on an already like saturated men's
Literally.
soccer, not league, but
Yes,
men's soccer
yes.
it's a thing. There isn't a single women's league, not one recognized women's league in South Africa. The women that play for Banyana Banyana,
They don't
they
get
only
any money.
play. They only play when they're playing for Banyana Banyana. They don't play elsewhere.
in other teams.
And they still kick ass. So there's also that angle where it's like you could do so
much
much
more, yeah.
more. But instead you choose to put that rubbish out there. You give him a jersey number 10 and he's a manager and he's come on guys, like
I just feel
it's
like-
not funny anymore. Like we laughed a bit, but now
I looked at it and I was just like, imagine
so
being
sad.
serious and passionate,
man.
and then you get like you guys have to humor this guy.
Dude.
You have to now be a part of some. I don't want to use nasty words. You have to be a part of some 19-year-old's fantasy.
Yeah.
Because by the time you're 19, you know if you're good or bad at soccer.
period, yeah.
And you know
Also,
when
a
you
lot
can
of the
play.
people that started soccer started early. They started
You're
very
not going
early
to become
on in
good
life.
at 19.
No.
You're not Dennis Rodman.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Like, there's just no ways, you know?
So for me, that was like a really wild thing. And that also made me realize that, like, I get it. We do laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah, but
But yeah, we be
let's
laughing
cry
too much sometimes.
yes.
Like,
So let's cry, actually. We need to cry a little bit more.
on the topic of crying, today we're going to be speaking about love. Could be for the last time, might be for the second last time.
Second last
you
time,
never
yes.
know.
You never know.
You never know.
Exactly.
But today we're gonna talk about letting yourself down
Oh,
in love.
yes. Whether it's in love with yourself,
your
in
friends,
love with your friends,
your partner,
but most importantly, in love with your partner, and letting yourself down from that perspective. So yeah, start us off, girl.
I don't know. I just thought it would be really interesting to speak about this, considering the other topics that we had.
Yeah.
Because naturally, we spoke about loneliness and
Yeah.
da 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 and da da da, and I think another thing that we don't touch on a lot is the times where we mess up and we're like, "Yo, ndimos."
Yeah.
Like, it is me. I did that.
I messed up. Yeah.
And I just thought it would be interesting to speak about, because getting our perspectives on it would actually probably be the first time that a lot of us would be admitting that
Yeah.
I have messed up.
I fucked
So
up. Yeah.
I actually just thought about letting yourself down by maybe setting boundaries from a place of what you think you deserve or what you feel you deserve,
Yeah.
but then not being able to uphold them because they were more of a theory than something that you actually
When you have to
really,
actually practice
yeah,
them. Yeah, it's a different story. You're like, yo. Yeah.
I didn't mean this. So I just thought that, like, that was a very interesting human thing that happens a lot, and it
But we
is
have to shift our boundaries, I guess, shift our boundaries, of maybe shift our thoughts around these boundaries that we often have, or that we often think about, like you said, before we're in a relationship. And then you theorize on these things, you theorize and you tell yourself, no, next time I got this, I will set it up. And then you're in it, and it's like,
it's like,
whoa.
oh, can we go back to the beginning so I
Yeah.
can set up that boundary and
It's
build that wall?
It's either that, or you realize the person you're with is not going to give you that.
Yes, and
And
you have to negotiate with
You
yourself.
have to negotiate with yourself, and because as a result, because you can't negotiate with them, or you feel you can't negotiate with them, or you feel a negotiation with them is going to threaten that
Or the
relationship.
negotiation is actually a betrayal of what you had believed
Yes.
would be something that you would want. And I think I personally think that in the biggest way that, or I felt that you can let yourself down,
Yeah.
is by feeling like you're betraying yourself
Yeah.
to sustain
A
something
relationship,
else.
yeah.
And that's how you can let yourself down
Yeah.
within that relationship. So I was thinking about this a lot, because I was like, the concept of betrayal is so theorized when it's between you and someone else, and not much when it's
Yourself,
between you
yeah.
and yourself, or you and a boundary that you'd set, or a standard that you'd set for yourself. And it becomes so difficult to have that conversation with
Yeah.
yourself, because having it would mean admitting that I'm letting something
Yeah.
I thought I would never let happen.
You know, when you said standard, it just reminded me of once again this week, and just the vitriol. Well, this week and just like the past couple of months, the whole vitriol about but I could your worth.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, so many people have been like putting that stuff out there, and part of me is just like, do you
understand what you're fully saying?
Do you
I don't
understand
think
what
they
you're
do.
saying? To me, when I look at it, that person, the people that do that, are speaking from a place of, I have betrayed myself. One, because I was chasing a certain standard and maybe I couldn't chase it, and now, or I chased a standard and I stuck to it, and it made me lose something
that I
valued. And there's a sense of regret there, and there's a sense of guilt there. But unfortunately, it is being used by people to it's being weaponized by people against women. Who have a certain standard, who have a certain, there's something that they want. And as a result, what can happen is that women then, they do take it personally. I mean, I'm sure
I would take it personally.
Some people would take it personally. They'll be like, look at you, you're lonely, and now you know your worth. I mean, you say you know your worth, but look at you, you're lonely, you're
I
alone,
would take
it's
it
Valentine's
personally.
Day. Definitely.
Because I think that everything that or everyone that kept on speaking about, oh, yeah, and did you know your worth? So
while posting all these
all
gifts and
the
the
fact
nice
that within
times.
that moment of joy, they were centering the lack of others says so much about how easy it is for us to run away from confronting ourselves by mocking others, right?
Because honestly, what are you saying about yourself?
Literally, in that moment.
When you are in that moment that is supposedly happy and you've received this wonderful gift or you're having this wonderful time with your partner, and your first thought is, oh, you guys said you know your worth. What are you saying about yourself?
I feel like
what are you
ever
dealing
since we have been analyzing the way people communicate online and the way people react to certain movements online, there has always been a concerted effort to water down whatever gains are being made by women who are coming into believing that they deserve more than what we have been socialized to accept. So it's the same way that people were mocking women who were speaking about wanting to be loved out loud and intentionally. It's the same way that people were mocking women who, I think it was Nandi's tweet where she spoke about all the women who are desired
but never fully loved.
But never fully loved.
Like that,
Men mocked that. Men mocked women who spoke about no longer wanting the bare minimum. Men mocked women, and now they're mocking women who are speaking about knowing their worth. And what always happens when those things happen is that there is always a group of women who believe that exceptionalizing themselves and acting as if they are different to others by internalizing misogyny and being on men's side means that they will continue to be valued by men, and that will protect them from the patriarchy and its ills. And I think because there is always this pattern, it becomes so easy to see that this person is actually in hot water.
Yeah, they're in hot water.
This is not coming
swimming for them.
The men who are talking about people who know their worth. Most of them are probably single men or men who are very unhappy. Well,
Dusty,
most men don't like
crusty nonsense.
Don't like their partners
They don't,
to begin with. So they would then use the knowing your worth thing as a signal that you're not going to try that shit here. And I think like a lot of people do that where they jump on things on social media and act like they're just playing along with the trend, but they're actually addressing people in their lives So now it becomes a thing of like, I can imagine how isolating and betrayed one can feel in that moment where you realize that the person you've let into your life is actually this kind of person.
And so as a result, you feel the need to go on social media and antagonize people. I mean, you're a bitch, but you're a bitch who's in pain.
Literally. Crisis.
Cry it out, you know, just cry it out. And, you know, we hope for the best. But yeah, I think that's something that I had noticed where it then results in women. We speak primarily about women because we are those women who are in, you know, sort of cis heterosexual relationships, who then in that moment, and I understand, I would feel the same way too, where it hits you and you're like, oh my God, you know, maybe in order for me to be partnered up, which is a social capital, I maybe need to let down the standard that I had so much said that, like I'm sticking to this is what I'm gonna do, you know, and that leads to betraying ourselves.
Literally. And I think those moments, those statements, those scenarios, they are actively working to do that, right?
Yes,
because
definitely.
It makes life so much easier for men when we have less boundaries. It's the same way that like I felt most recently that, oh my word, I've actually been letting myself down because I haven't been an active participant in my own life. It's weird that it actually took, or I haven't been as active as I thought I was because I haven't been clear in communicating these actions I've been doing. And it luckily somehow the doing has been serving me. But the communicating wasn't there as much in my personal relationships.
Yeah.
And it took working out to actually realize all of this, weirdly enough. Because then, for some reason, I now feel like way more grounded in myself. I have like a deeper understanding. I have a better understanding of my body. I have a better understanding of my reactions to because it now feels like, now that my body has a routine
You're
and I'm
connected
working,
also.
my mind is also like so much clearer. So and I actually realized that, oh my word, I've been letting myself down. Like I've just been letting things happen
to me.
You know, like my life has been just happening, and now that I have this level of control or understanding, or I am this centered, because control is a very weird idea. It now feels like, like I've actually been shortchanging myself. I've been cheating myself, and the way that I'm moving now is so much more different to how I've moved before. And it's the thing I was gonna connect it to is how people were talking about when Sierra and the husbands, it came, I think they did an interview or whatever, and they spoke about how they have a 50-point checklist that they go through weekly. And people are like, oh, that's boring. Oh, that's too much work. Oh. And it's like, first of all, you're not a millionaire. You don't have 3 kids. You're not co-parenting. You don't have fame. You don't have, those people have they have their own multiple properties. They have so much in their life that they can discuss, that it might so happens that for them it needs a 50-point checklist. They figured something out. And I was like, it made me realize that we don't do as much homework as we should in our relationships.
Or as we'd like to think we do.
And it made me remember how so when I used to go to therapy years ago, I literally would just rock up and chat on the couch. And when Rondo went to therapy recently, he would come back with homework. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so dope. Like, I wish I had had homework for therapy. And I just feel like our relationships would all be a bit easier and more fulfilling and rewarding if we had that homework. And it's not necessarily a 50-point checklist. Sometimes it's just 2 questions. Sometimes it's not even the same questions. But just checking in and making sure that we're on the same page and we both still feel fulfilled.
And even it's also sometimes when you have arguments or whatever, where, you know, you then sit down and you then hash it out or whatever, and afterwards you ask, are we fine?
And I feel like I've been letting myself down because I haven't been doing that as much as I should be in all of my relationships. I feel like I cannot think of a time where I sat with my little sister and asked her, are you all right? Are we cool? Do you get, like, I've never had that session with you, and I don't think that those are things that are unnatural. I think it's things that we actually need to normalize. And like,
it's difficult.
It feels awkward as hell.
I've been applying that in my relationship, and oh my days, like, it is so hard. Like, it is so hard, especially if there's been like a tiff.
And you know what would make it easier is if we did it even when there hasn't been a tension, because then when there is a tension, it just feels like a normal part of our process and not necessarily something that is just like
exactly. But the aftermath has been so rewarding. I'm not even gonna lie, because you come out of that feeling a little bit more secure. You feel fulfilled. You feel like, oh, actually, I made the right decision.
And you feel active. You feel like you are active.
Like, I'm actually participating in this relationship, and I am, you know, I'm actually working towards it. It's not just happening.
And I'm not like, oh, I'm so grateful that I have this lovely partner who just, we don't fight. We just, no. Like, I was probably that naive a few months ago. But like,
until you guys had
until we had like our first ever fight.
Yeah.
And I just think that was really good for us. That led us into a very healthy place. And I just think, man, I think I've been letting I realized that for me to claim that I love the people I love as much as I do, it's nonsensical and it makes 0.00000 sense
Yeah.
that I do not check in as much as I should
Yeah.
or at all unless
yeah.
there's something.
For me, I felt the way that I had been letting myself down in my relationships was just kind of being so, I guess, in a sense, aloof. I was commenting on someone's comment on our last video, and they were talking about hyper independence and how that kind of, resulted in them not valuing people as much as they should have. And just kind of having to sit with that guilt. And I had to sit with that guilt last year, where I realized where it was like, yeah, it's, when you're not happy in a relationship, I guess you must let it go. But there was a certain, I felt there was that, and then what I was doing was something else. It felt like I was discarding. Yeah, I'm gonna discard. I'm not even gonna.
I'm not gonna deal with that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm not gonna have the uncomfortable conversations that I've now sort of decided I must have, and that are rewarding and not easy but rewarding.
And that other person's sitting there like, yeah, you had to learn that lesson at my expense.
You had to learn the lesson, bitch. You had to learn that lesson at my expense, and so I realized that I had been letting myself down because, these were connections that, were worthwhile and
valued.
I don't necessarily have a sense of regret, but it's just a reflection where it's like, I don't think I was thinking about it in the way I thought I was, where it was like, okay, this and this happened, therefore this. I could have. Yeah, it just felt like I was discarding people. I was just like,
I think I do that a lot with friends, where I'm like, and it's such a toxic thing. I think I've spoken about this multiple times, but where I let myself down a lot. Like I stomach a lot and I understand a lot. I sound like those people. What's your toxic trait? I'm too understanding. I love so hard. But actually, the truth is, I lack boundaries.
Yes.
That's the truth. I'm not too understanding. I lack boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's in that lack of boundaries that when the time comes where I'm like, this has crossed the line, I'm done, I dispose. Which is unfair because in my lack of boundaries, the other person was not fully aware of how wrong they are being or how much they are hurting me or how much they're crossing a line, right? And by the time I get to the disposal part, I have no interest in engaging after or having a discussion because in my mind, I've already said I'm going to be gaslighted because all this time there's no way this person wasn't seeing that they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And there's no way that this person can be able to raise things as much as they do and not think that they do wrong things as well. And I think in that cowardice of acting like I'm not confrontational, or in that cowardice of not wanting to bring things up because there's always this need to please, there's always this need to create harmony and the general lack of boundaries, I then become very cruel when I just cut ties and I'm done.
I'm conflict averse.
And I cut ties and I'm done. Yeah. Because in my mind, I'm just like, this person's going to gaslight me. There's no way they weren't seeing this. Yeah. And I do think sometimes it does have merits, but I do think it is a very unhealthy thing to do because it's easier to cut people off than it is to have a conversation with them and actually express the hurt that they've been putting you through.
And have to see things from their perspective as well. Because even in those scenarios, two things can
exist at the same time.
I hate that thing, but it's very true.
It's true.
I'd love to be right. God, I would love to be right, but it's true. Two things. You could have hurt them. They could have hurt you. It is what it is.
I just think that with knowing that, it's also... It's very difficult to come to someone you care about and be like, you've actually hurt me.
Yeah, it's really
in
hard,
this way.
Sure.
I think for me,
especially when you want to move on. I think a lot of times we have these conversations when we're deciding that we're done. Coming to someone you love or whatever and saying, wow, this actually hurt me a lot. When you still want to move on is another level of vulnerability I didn't know.
I don't know. I'm not there yet.
I'm there, and it's your guys.
I'm not there yet.
It's very
I'll be honest.
Whoa, it's a lot.
I'm still at the kind of nigga off stage.
It's a lot.
I can be a coward, and that's the one thing. And I do think it's because I think I'm protecting myself, but I do understand how cruel it can be to other. It's effectively ghosting.
Yeah.
It is effectively
It's also
ghosting.
cruel to yourself.
It is
It's
cruel to myself because
yourself, yeah.
that connection ends overnight.
And then, yeah, at the end of the day, you must still mourn that day.
Literally. But it's actually very interesting. I think it depends on the severity of the
definitely,
thing, because
it's definitely a circumstantial
there
thing.
are some things that people do and you're like, this bitch is dead.
Yeah.
And the bitch is dead.
And that's on period.
And that's all.
Like there's no discussing
so
this.
I'm trying to kill less bitches
Yes.
going forward.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it like I said, it's really hard to go to someone and say, you know, you've hurt me, but I still love you. Like, yo, guys.
I'm not that mature.
Because yeah, also it's really tough. But also like it just takes me back to that thing of like being in a relationship is about forgiving, and it's so hard to stomach that.
Because
man,
forgiveness has always been painted as like, for me, for the longest time, it's felt like something
So I'm a
that
weak
means I'm
bitch?
weak.
Yeah. I'm losing power.
Yes, and
Yeah.
also, I first of all, I don't understand why I think like this, because I know I don't have boundaries. But like every time I think of forgiveness, it's like, nah, they're crossing my boundaries. You don't have boundaries.
You don't have them in the
Like,
first place.
there is no pedestrian crossing here. It is the highway for emotions.
Everybody just.
Everybody, no speed limit, nothing. So I don't know why I'm always like, I can't forgive my boundary. You don't have boundaries.
You don't have. So
Yeah, I think those are the ways that like I feel I let myself down a lot in love, and like not just in love as tied to romantic sense, but in general, like I catch myself halfway in something and I'm like, you're not supposed to be in this, and it's not going to be fulfilling, and it's not going to serve you. But then there's that thing that's like, I gotta see it through.
Yes, yeah.
And that will have you being taken advantage of multiple times because you don't wanna.
Yeah.
So man, I don't know. Like, obviously, the takeaway for me is that I gotta go get some boundaries and stop being like, I care too much, I love too much, I'm too understanding, because it's not about that.
Yeah. For me, I think, because I've now unlocked this new chapter of vulnerability in my life.
Misha, the
I
vulnerable,
know,
the venerable.
She makes me sick. Because I'd much rather not be, you know, but it's been rewarding being vulnerable. But I think the ways in which I need to not betray myself is to feel silly once I've been vulnerable. I think often I feel
the silliness
silly.
can make you drown.
I feel so silly. And it's like, but why though? It's you know, you're not, I mean, what's so silly about
and
it?
you did nothing wrong.
You did nothing
And
wrong.
it's actually
And
helping
it's
you.
helping you. It's helping the other person. It's helping everybody. So there's that. But also, I think for the people who are within social media and have to face the vitriol that we're talking about in terms of, you know, the whole know your worth thing, I think it's okay if you feel attacked by that.
Yes.
First and foremost, never minimize your feelings about that. That's what we spoke about last week. Don't belittle your own feelings. Because it's things like that where you're like, nah, I'm a tough bitch. But on the inside, exactly. I saw them Kale. You know, like, don't
have your cry, girl. It's a crisis.
Have your cry. You know, acknowledge that hurt. If you must sit in it for a little bit, not for too long. Sit in it and move on and just console yourself and say, you know, I'm doing what's right for me.
Yes, also remember that.
I'm
You're
doing what's right for me. Because once again, like we said last week, when you decide to betray those things or betray yourself, you have to deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You are the one who has to deal with you. Nobody else.
And you are the one who knows your worth. No one else can dictate that to you. People may be able to guide you. Other people's experiences may be able to shield you from a lot of things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is you.
It's you. You must sit and deal with that.
You must get.
So yeah, don't make yourself feel like silly for feeling any type of way about that stuff. It can't be easy. But also, yeah, guys, like, just be kind to yourselves. We always say that.
Always.
How?
Always.
I don't know either.
Choose the kinder route.
Choose the kind of
also,
route,
it's not I'm so silly. It's I did a silly thing, or
silly
I
thing.
feel
Yes,
silly.
yes.
You're not the emotion that you have at a certain time.
Yeah.
All love.
Shout out Brene Brown for that.
Yes,
Shout out.
yes.
But yeah, I think we're done. We have the competition.
Oh, yes. So we've still got 3 Polaroids to give away.
Not Polaroids, Instax.
Instax, but it gives you a Polaroid.
No, Polaroid is an actual company.
I
They
know
have
it is a
those.
brand. It's like Colgate, though. It's like Colgate. All
That is true.
toothpaste is Colgate.
All checkers.
All
plastic bags are
are
checkers. But yes, we still have a competition running. We will be announcing the winner on our
next episode. So
which is going to be airing on the 26th. So
Subscribe.
the competition is going to close on the 20. When are we going to film? When we film, we'll let you guys know on socials. But we're probably going to close it this week, and then we will be announcing, or by the end of this week, and we'll be announcing the winner on the 26th on that episode. So tune in, subscribe, like, comment. Don't unsubscribe afterwards.
Yeah, that's. Do you know that there are actually bots that literally
Yes.
exist on the internet
That do
just to
that.
enter competitions?
Yeah, it's very strange. It's so weird. But yeah, guys, shout out to the people at Cadbury for hooking us up for our birthday.
It's our birthday.
Yes, it's our birthday. This whole month, we're going to be celebrating and all of that. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening in. Like, comment, subscribe, like we always say. And yeah, enjoy your day or
Bye.
evening, whenever. Bye.
Away.